film deals with rape in a very uncommon way, and a woman's reaction to being raped, and sort of taking control in this certain way, and almost being aroused at certain points too. Are you concerned that upon release it's going to offend certain people?
No, not really, actually.
Elle is a 2016 film that has been considered by some as a rape comedy, but it's also a revenge thriller, a family drama, and a satire, and this comes from a director who I feel subliminally loves to troll Hollywood, Paul Verhoeven, a Dutch director who in the 80s and 90s started making Hollywood blockbusters with some pretty heavy themes. With RoboCop, he displayed the power of the media and big corporations. The Violent Total Recall examined how technology can skew justice and virtues, and Starship Troopers alluded to Nazi propaganda films. And then there was Showgirls.
Thrust it! Thrust it! Come on, thrust it!
Verhoeven loves being provocative, so there's no wonder he chose to adapt the French novel Oh into Elle, which translates into her. In it, a woman is raped in her own house by an intruder, but instead of reacting the way we assume she would or should, she begins a romance with a rapist when she finds out it's her neighbor.
What I would call almost like a post-feminist character, building her own behavior and space, somewhere between the victim. I mean, she doesn't want to be a victim, that's for sure, but she doesn't either fall into the caricature of the revenge avenger girl taking a gun and the James Bond type and shooting the guy. She's somewhere else.
It's obviously a hot topic in America, and the reason why several actresses turned it down and ultimately it didn't become an American film, but a French film, because those Frenchies have no boundaries. But what exactly is the movie Elle trying to say? Well, according to Verhoeven, the movie doesn't make any moral point.
Both we have avoided to do any Freudian, basically, explanation. I think that should be the audience. I felt that this movie, more than any movie I've made, leaves things open for the audience to fill in.
So that's what I'm going to cover in this video. My explanation of the movie broken down into 3 segments. So let's start off with the big one. It's a topic that people get very uptight about, and rightfully so, but there's been a division between people, as always, and that's where things turn gray. Now let me get one thing straight. I don't believe the debate is about rape being good. It's a bad thing. Don't do it. But it's about the discussion it opens up, how the word can end up manipulating emotions without context, and how we tend to already assume situations ahead of time. And that's the main thing with Elle. We assume she'll react one way, and she doesn't. It's not really a movie exploiting a woman's vulnerability or celebrating her resistance the same way that the movie isn't bound to one genre. Instead, I see it as a satire of human behaviors, not only with the way that Michelle reacts to her rape, but how other characters are okay with their best friend cheating with their husband, a white man raising a black baby who he refuses to believe is not his son, and several other scenarios that make you go, yo, real people don't react like this. It's our assumption showing up and declaring what we believe should be happening on screen, and I think that's what makes the movie so interesting. Most of all, though, it's important to remember that it's a story about the subject, not a declaration on the subject.
First of all, the story shouldn't be taken as a realistic story. I mean, it's not a statement about women being raped and accepting, their rapist. That's not what it is about, actually. And I think that if you when you watch the film, that's the way you take it. This is a story in particular about this woman as an individual, and not a general statement about women in general.
Many movies get backlash because people automatically assume that they're statements that when a movie shows violence, it's saying violence is okay, that stealing is okay, that rape is okay. In 2016, there was even a movement started against the film Me Before You where, no spoilers, a decision is made for a character who is quadriplegic. Several people saw that and got offended, seeing the movie as something that was bashing those people with disabilities when, well, it wasn't. As someone with a sibling with a disability, I knew the difference between a movie character making a decision for themselves and a film that has an agenda. The same thing goes with the movie Elle. It's less about that one subject and more about the character of Michelle.
Ralph et moi, nous sommes fiancés et nous allons nous marier.
At the 89th Academy Awards, the winner for Best Actress went to Emma Stone, a performance that really required emotion on her behalf, having her display almost every possible face imaginable. Isabelle Huppert, who was also nominated, did the complete opposite. It's more of an ambiguous role, a sort of blank canvas for the audience to watch and emote their thoughts. I mean, there are literally scenes where she physically does one thing, but says the contrary.
No, there is no development in the character. And I don't believe in this American statement, basically, that there has to be evolution in the character. I think I have the idea that everybody stays the same throughout his whole life. So I adapt as much as possible, so the bad things are a bit hidden.
What's interesting is how she stands out from the people around her, specifically the male idiots in her life. There's her father, the serial killer, the failed writer that is her ex-husband, her son who's pushed around by his girlfriend who had another man's baby, and all the whiners who work for her at her video game company. And it's that latter one that's pretty interesting to me, because the movie stays fairly close to the book, except for her profession. They end up switching it from a screenwriting agency to a video game company, and if you know anything about video games, I think the switch is intentional. I mean, they even have this line.
Profil sociologique qu'on n'a rien à battre de la qualité.
Exactement.
There's even a scene right after the first rape where they sit to watch video game footage of a character getting raped, and it's Michelle who complains that it's not realistic enough. It's almost like a play on the audience watching Michelle get raped and questioning her actions, the same way she watches the footage and questions the mechanics.
It's a human comedy, not a comedy like people laugh every 10 seconds, but with this distance to the characters and to the story that sets up immediately the story in a certain meaning, you know, with depth and lightness, and so that I think that's kept all the characters and the story at the right distance. That irony he spills up all over the film.
As I mentioned, I believe it's a character study more than a movie about the subject of rape, and I think that comes together with the way she handles things at the end. See, there was a 2014 Swedish film that I feel covers the same elements of Elle called Force Majeure. In it, a family starts falling apart during a vacation because the father runs off when he thought an avalanche was coming, leaving his family behind. Now, his kids and wife don't see him the same. But just like Elle, the ending leaves little clues as to why certain actions are made by certain characters. At the ending of Force Majeure, I believe the wife pretends to be lost while skiing, so the father can then come rescue her, thus reboosting his confidence and allowing the kids to see him as a hero again. It's the mom who ends up rebuilding the family by putting her pain aside. I think that's what Elle does. Michelle's the one who's always setting the men at her office straight. She's the one who ends up helping her ex-husband by giving him a job. She's the one who ends her father's reign before his parole. And she's the one who uses the rape to her advantage. She obviously wants the neighbor to be punished and does so in the most twisted way possible by forcing consent onto her own rapist. Yeah, that's pretty jacked up. But at the end though, I believe she also sets it up so it's not her who becomes the Avenger, but she finally finds a way to connect with her son by having him be the one who comes in, picks up the weapon she placed, and is able to become the man he never was by saving her, to finally boost his confidence and gain the respect of his girlfriend from this fabricated action. It's Michelle who's always been in control, and she refuses to become the victim by still looking out for everyone around her.
And certainly certain people won't get the movie where I think it is, but that's the risk.
Yes. Thanks for watching. I have a couple other explain videos that I want to explore, and I want to do a whole series of movies that I want to analyze, but if you have any particular ones that you want me to do a video on, definitely leave a comment down below, and I'll look at the ones that seem to be in highest demand and rewatch those movies a gazillion times like I do for these videos. Let me know your thoughts on this movie or any others down below in the comments section. And until next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you guys later.